Interdisciplinarity has become increasingly important for many academic researchers, institutions, and funders. The idea is that combining otherwise distinct disciplinary resources can yield a richer understanding of whatever phenomenon you're investigating, and you do not have to reinvent the wheel if it's already been invented in another discipline across campus. There are, however, a number of obstacles to interdisciplinary cooperation when it comes to human thought and behavior. One of the less talked about, but in our view most important, is that researchers in different disciplines often have different goals. This can lead to premature rejection of the insights of other disciplines as in some way irrelevant for one's own research goals.
In relation to explaining atheism, the goal of most cognitive scientists, evolutionary anthropologists, and many sociologists is to establish the most powerful general causal factors that work to produce atheism. Their goal is not to explain why a particular person became an atheist, but what factors best predict atheism in a population. We might make a comparison here to medical research on smoking and lung cancer. A great deal of scientific work now supports the causal claim that smoking tobacco causes lung cancer. This does not mean that all smokers will get lung cancer, or that only smokers will get lung cancer, but it does mean that smoking is the leading cause of lung cancer. Despite not having a deterministic law of smoking and cancer, we view this scientific consensus as an important fact of medical research for making health recommendations and even social policy. Developing similar probabilistic accounts of the causes of certain types of human thought and behavior is a goal shared by thousands of social and behavioral scientists. And indeed, social scientists have argued that such things as education, low levels of religious socialization, personality type, and exposure to multiple worldviews may be general causal factors in atheism.
Now, the goals of many anthropologists, historians, and religious studies scholars can be different. They may be interested in causal questions, but their more pressing goals have to do with better interpreting the meanings of human statements and actions. For those who are interested in causal explanations, they're often focused on explaining particular cases rather than uncovering general trends. In relation to atheism, many humanities scholars would be much more interested in explaining why a particular person became an atheist, or why a particular atheist movement developed or grew at a particular time, at the moment that it did, and in a particular place.
Now we can see how these goals might come into tension with one another. Some humanities scholars may wonder why scientists are getting excited about a particular causal factor if it doesn't seem to be relevant to their particular case study. For example, think of a historian who is interested in explaining why the percentage of atheists in Sweden increased so much in the second half of the 20th century. They're unlikely to find psychological accounts relying on personality very compelling. Conversely, more scientifically oriented scholars may view detailed case studies as interesting but less relevant for their work if they're not suggestive of generalizable causal mechanisms.
We think both of these explanatory goals are valid. Further, if we're committed to the idea that researchers with either of these goals can learn from those working on the other, researchers engaged in establishing general causal factors can learn much from engaging with individual case studies, as this may lead them to hypothesize new interaction effects, lead them to hypothesize new general causal factors, and recognise that the general causal factors they work so hard to uncover are not always the most relevant for particular cases. Similarly, researchers engaged in explaining particular atheist movements or individual worldviews can learn much from engaging with more general causal research, as they can discover a plethora of causal mechanisms, some of which may be contributing to explaining their individual case studies.
These commitments are embedded throughout our program. First, they are embedded in our team's core research. Our multidisciplinary team is running cross-cultural surveys to better understand the general causal factors working across context. But we're also analyzing hundreds of individual narratives of people becoming or remaining atheists and examining the extent to which those general factors are relevant to individual case studies.
Second, these commitments influence the research we fund through our grant competitions and how we structure our program-wide activities. One of the most satisfying outcomes of the Understanding Unbelief program was how well scholars of widely divergent interest were able to enter into collaborative and supportive dialogue. We aim to further develop these processes in explaining atheism to encourage cross-project collaboration and appreciation of these different goals.